Okay, kids, let's continue with day 2 of our reading lesson. But I'm going to start you off with your rules for online. First one, be on time. Be prepared. Check your technology before you come into the online sessions. Presentations, check your surroundings. Can we see you? Can we hear what's going on around you? If we can, and there's a lot of loud stuff going on around you, then you're going to do the next part where you are going to mute yourself. There is a little microphone in the bottom left-hand corner. Click on that, and if it turns red with a line through it, that means you are on mute. So be sure to mute your microphone when joining class. Headphones, if you have headphones and you want to hear just me or without hearing the voices around you, or you want to just only hear your class, get headphones and use them. Participation, I am expecting you to participate. You don't just come on the online class and just sit there and not participate. Participation shows me that you guys are paying attention. So if I ask a question, unmute yourself and answer the question if you want. Raise your hand when you want to answer a question. And when you are called on, then unmute yourself and answer the question. Chat responsibly. If you have questions, write it in the chat. And if you have an idea or a comment, write it in the chat. Do not talk about what you did last night or over the weekend in the chat. Please pay attention. So today we will continue with our presentation. Make sure you have your notebooks out because you are going to answer the next 2 questions today. So your standard is, I can determine a theme of a story, drama, or poem from details in the text, including how characters in a story or drama respond to challenges, or how the speaker in a poem reflects upon a topic. Summarize the text. Your essential questions is, what is theme? We answered that question yesterday. Theme is the lesson or message that the author wants you to learn from the story. How do I use evidence from the text to support the theme? How do we use the evidence? We look for the character's actions and feelings. So today we're going to do, how do the challenges that a character faces connect to the theme? How is imagery used in poetry to convey the theme? And if you are joining us today, you will not have an assignment until tomorrow, Wednesday, August 19th. And you will be using your notes and the examples that we are going to do on here to help you answer your questions on the worksheet. So, like I told you, take out your notebook and start writing your notes. First, write down the first question, second question, third question, and the last question. This is a type of note-taking called Cornell Notes. So anything, your main ideas or your subheadings or your questions all go in this little area. This area on this side is where you write down your answers. Up here, you write down what notes you're going to be doing. So we're going to be doing theme. That's why I have the word theme up here. Down here is where you're going to summarize what you learn after taking notes about all these. So we will get started on the second part of this whole thing. So we did all these yesterday. So we're going to start with question 3. How do the challengers, the character faces, connect to the theme? Challenges is the same as saying conflict. So what conflict does the character go through? So to find a theme, think one word, what important part of life is the story about? There are 6 common themes in children's literature. So anything that you're reading here, there's only 6 of them that you can write down. Growing up, courage, family or friendship, perseverance, acceptance, and compassion. So as you read, make sure you ask yourself, what happened? How did the characters react? How did they overcome obstacles? Obstacles is the same as saying challenges. How did they get what they wanted or solve their problem? And use these clues to infer the theme. If your story has learning, youth, innocence, ambition, responsibility, your theme is going to be growing up. This is just like the story that we read yesterday about Kim and her new little brother. She was learning, she was a youth, and then she was told about her responsibility as an older sister. So that's why I brought up the words growing up. But if your story has love, ending loneliness, loyalty, cooperation, that your theme would be about family or friendship. And then if it's about bullies reforming, so bullies changing, ending racism, getting people to accept each other, overcoming prejudice, getting people, just another way of saying getting people to be nicer to each other. And diversity, that means you have a whole lot of different kinds of people. Then your theme is going to be acceptance. And then if your story has heroism, optimism, hope, strength, and will, so anything that has to do with being a hero, someone who understands everything, and someone who's hopeful, has strength, and has will to do just about anything, then your theme would be courage. Escape, survival, risk-taking, rebellion, overcoming failure. So somebody who never gives up in what they're doing. Then your theme would be perseverance. Giving, justice, sacrifice, ending suffering, and selflessness. When you are not scared, but if you're scared and you overcome it and you go ahead and do something, then it's compassion. So when you are thinking about how the challenges the character faces connect to the theme, you're going to think of the plot of the story, the beginning, the middle, the end. Think of how the character acts. Think of the character's challenges. What conflict? Who are they struggling with in the story? Think about it. And then how did the character get what they wanted or solve their problem? How did they get what they want? How did they solve their problem? So you're going to enter your answer for question 3. How do the challenges that a character faces connect to the theme? The challenge is the same as the conflict. Look at the problem that the character faces and how it was solved. What will tell you how the character felt and how he or she changed. So again, we're looking at actions and feelings. So example, we're going to read the text. Georgia decided to take a sewing class, but felt very frustrated when she couldn't sew a straight line on the first day. This looks so easy, but it's not. Clearly, I'm just terrible at sewing, she complained. Even though she felt frustrated, she continued to go to class week after week. Each week, her sewing instructor helped her. By the last week of class, Georgia finally completed a project all by herself. She created a triangular pillow for her bed with 4 mostly perfect straight lines. So Georgia learned how to sew. So we're going to look at the problem. What is the problem? And the problem was that she was very frustrated when she couldn't sew a straight line on the first day, right? And she thought she was terrible at sewing. And then look for how the problem was solved. How did she solve this problem? Did she quit? No, she didn't. She continued to go to class week after week, and her sewing instructor helped her. So what is the problem? Georgia cannot sew a straight line. What is the solution? She continued to go to sewing class and learn to make straight lines. Okay, so what is the theme if you think about this? If she couldn't do it at first, and then even though she couldn't do it, and she didn't give up, and she kept going and going and going until she learned it. One word theme I could come up with is determination. And then in a phrase, what I came up with is never give up and practice makes perfect. So you do this one. Read the text. 1 minute, we were goofing around and having fun, and the next thing I knew, Hank's body soared over the top of the patio, and suddenly his life was in danger. His fingers grasped tightly on the railing. He desperately cried for help. I watched his grip slowly slip away and knew that a 40-foot plunge to the ground could be disastrous. Without stopping to consider my own safety, I jumped into action. My heart pounded through my chest and fear pulsed through my veins as I clutched his hands and pulled up as hard as I could. So this one is a suspense. We're going to find the problem. The problem in this one, then we're going to find the solution. And then we're going to find out what the theme is, the one-word theme, and then the phrase. So what is the problem in this story? The problem is that George was playing with a friend, and all of a sudden his friend fell over the top of the patio, and he was hanging on to something, crying for help. So the problem is that the friend's life is in danger, and the boy is scared. And the boy needs to find a way to save his friend's life. So the solution, the boy jumps into action and he goes over and pulls his friend up. So this boy, even though he was scared, he jumped out there and he went to help his friend. What would you think of this? What kind of words or clues do you see in here? First they were goofing around, then his friend fell out and was hanging on, and he was about to slip and fall 40 feet down. and he was scared for his own safety, but instead of thinking of just himself, he said, okay, I'm gonna go help my friend. And even though he was scared, he got out there and he started to pull his friend up. So this is, we have heroism in here. So which one word theme do you think this is? This is what I came up with. Brave, fearless, and courage. Do you all agree? Okay, so if we were to put it in a phrase, it would be facing your fears, because of this part where he said, my heart pounded through my chest and fear pulsed through my veins as I clutched his hands and pulled up as hard as I could. That part told me he was facing his fears. It takes a lot of courage to be brave. So even though he knew that he might lose his friend falling down 40 feet, he put his own life at risk by going out there to help pull his friend up. Do you guys see that? Okay, so let's move on. Here's a final thought. Now that you have completed your notes, write in the summary section of your page to tell everything you have learned about theme. So here is how this should have went. What is theme? Theme is the message or lesson that the author wants you to learn. How do I use text evidence to support theme? Text evidence are the clues or the sentences you find in the story poem to help with finding the answers. How do the challenges that the character faces connect to the theme? The challenge is the same as the conflict. You look at the problem that the character faces and how it was solved. That will tell you how the character felt and how the character changed. And how does imagery help to understand the theme? Imagery tells you to look at the things that you can smell, taste, hear, feel, and see. Imagery can help with theme by letting us know what the character is doing, how the character acts. Okay, now that we're done with all these notes, down here at the bottom, you are to write what you have learned about theme here. So make sure you start with a complete sentence. What I have learned is, and then you're going to write down what you've learned. Now that you have learned different ways to find theme, use what you have learned and the notes you took to complete your assignment. Make sure you read the story of your assignment. Look at what the character does throughout the story. How does the character act? Think about the character while you are reading the story. What is the character's problem and how did the character solve the problem? How did the character change? What did the character learn from their problem? Make sure you keep your notes because your notes can be good for test taking. How to get to your assignment. Go to Google Classroom, view the video lesson theme, take notes along with the video, and your assignment, which will open tomorrow, will be in Google Forms. So make sure you do that, and good luck with your assignment. If you have any questions, feel free to come to Google Meets. If you want to meet with me, drop it in the stream that you want to meet with me and I can meet with you. If you want to meet with just me, let me know. You can email me at sabaya@pusdatsa.org and let me know when you want to meet if you need more help. So until then, thank you. And thank you for taking the time to follow the lesson and take notes. Goodbye. I'll see you guys tomorrow.